We've looked at negotiation and dealing with conflict, but it's also important to look at communication on a more broad scale. Leadership's all about communication. The way you talk with someone is going to define so much about the way they're going to see you as a leader. So it's important to have good communication skills. It's number one on so many people's lists of what they want in a leader. Somebody who knows how to communicate well with the people that oversee them or that they oversee, and also with their patrons as well. So real communication, kind of communication where it's really truly communication, because communication is all about getting someone to understand you, is only takes place when everyone understands the message the same way. If you think of the telephone game, for example, where one person whispers something to somebody and then it's whispered down the line, and by the end of the line, it's rarely the original thing. True communication is where that works perfectly, where everybody understands the same message perfectly, exactly as the sender of the message intended. It's difficult to do that because a lot of people, have other things in their mind, or they might not hear you very well, or something about the way you're communicating might distract them away from understanding really what you want, or something about your physical stance is going to change that. Anyway, it's a complicated process communicating, and so you need to be able to take everything into consideration when you're sending a message or giving instructions. What's the goal? What exactly are you trying to get across? Who are you speaking with? Because that will totally change the way you express it. What method are you going to use? Are you going to use posters, or is this going to be? Are you going to show a demonstration, or are you going to just talk? How much time do you have? Totally changes everything. The location, is it distracting? Is it dangerous? What's the location? I mean, where are you? Are you inside or outside? It's going to change. So, for example, in class, I have the students in groups decide how to explain tag, a very simple game, to different populations. And when you're explaining tag, any game, anything, you're going to say it differently when you're speaking to 5 and 7-year-olds versus when you're speaking with older adults or professors or individuals with visual impairments or teenage boys, your parents. You're going to use different language, and that's okay. It's important to be able to read your audience and then speak in a way that's going to be understandable to them. When you're speaking with people, you need to understand how to build rapport with them, get your message across, your objectives, and then check for understanding. This goes way back to DDADA, the beginning of the semester, where you describe, demonstrate, ask for questions, do it, and then adapt it. Especially the describe, demonstrate, and ask for questions. Part of that's checking for understanding. How are you going to follow up with them? When you tell someone to do something, you need to always afterwards check in with them. So you need to make sure that you follow up. If you tell someone to do something and then they do a good job, you need to congratulate them on it. If they don't do what you ask, then you also need to follow up as well, so that they know that you're serious. All right. So one of the biggest things, the biggest thing in communication is listening. We love to hear the sound of our voices, and so we talk and talk and talk and talk and bore people to death. And as a leader, it's not your job to talk, it's your job to listen. So often, people will see you as a good communicator if you listen to them. And so in class, I have students practice just listening, not getting distracted, just paying attention, not interrupting, watching for your body language so it seems interested. If you got your arms folded and your legs crossed, you'll look far less excited versus if you're leaning forward, elbows on your knees, interested in eye contact. Asking follow-up questions once they're done, listening to someone until they're done explaining, and then asking questions that are going to get them to continue talking. And then, taking notes if needed. And that might be more appropriate in a work situation, but still, keeping the focus on somebody else, that is a skill. It is a skill because we love to hear ourselves talk. Often when we're talking to people, we're thinking of what we'd love to say or about the story that we have that's relatable that we want them to hear. That's not really what it's about. It's not really what they want to hear either. And it's not going to get you as far as just listening would. And last but not least, being able to give feedback. Explaining to someone when they need to improve, or being able to receive feedback. As a leader, a lot of times we will, from our superiors, or from honestly from the people that we oversee, we should be getting feedback from them. Don't get angry when you're getting criticized. When they're giving you feedback that's going to require you to change, look at it positively. It's so easy to take it personally and get up in arms, but that's not the point. The feedback is to help you improve. If they didn't want you to improve, they wouldn't say it. So consider that an opportunity to improve. Make sure you make sure that you understand what they're asking. Double check and say it in your own words. Okay, so what I'm understanding is this when it comes to feedback, so you know that you're fixing what they need you to fix. And feedback is supposed to be motivational when you're receiving it and when you're giving it. And so make sure that you're presenting it in such a way that is going to be motivational. It's going to encourage them to improve, not just get annoyed at you. Sometimes feedback doesn't work, or the way you ask it doesn't work, like asking in some situations, do you have any questions? This is a good question to ask when it comes to like games and things like that, but people often will feel dumb or won't know what questions they've got. So you need to ask things that are more specific. Or you can ask them to repeat back to you what needs to be done to make sure that they understand. People just don't understand sometimes what questions to ask. Or they don't want to suggest that you're wrong as the leader because they're afraid that will hurt their position. You should make sure that you've got the kind of work culture where people can suggest that the manager did something wrong. And cultural values also might be part of the reason why feedback wouldn't work. So you have to be careful in the way that you present it. So when I talked a little bit about getting feedback already, but make sure you encourage it, that you ask, how can I improve? What could I do better? Always reaching out. Make sure that you are presenting yourself in such a way that you seem to want to improve and that you want them to improve. If you're the leader giving the feedback, that you're like, hey, I'm telling you this because I believe in you, because I know you can do better, because I know we can do better. That encourages improvement versus someone saying, well, you're doing this wrong. That's not what it's about. It's about, here's where you could improve versus here's what you did wrong. Those two things say the same thing, but not. They say a completely different thing. One is you can do better, we can do better, and the other one is you can't do better. Even though they're saying the same thing, they're saying a very different thing. So that's communication in a nutshell, but honestly, it's going to be personal. Make sure that you learn how you communicate with people, that you practice listening and asking follow-up questions and giving feedback. Those three things are probably the most important when it comes to communication.